Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm D-Slice.
and this is Great Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review horror movies each week, go over the horror news, and Derek thinks up of new rap names. D-Slice is one of the best.
Dude, that's not a rap name. That's just, functionality.
Oh, is it because you like to slice things? You slice bread?
It's because I've been cutting the cheese all day.
And it's not different than any other day.
I was thinking this a couple minutes ago. It's probably for the best that we don't do this in person, because let me tell you.
Run Lydia out? Is that what you're saying?
I would.
She's used to it by now, unfortunately. That's a sad thing that she has to be.
Lydia, I'm sorry.
So how are you guys doing this week? You ready for Christmas next week?
Well,
Yeah.
you scared me there for just a second. I'm like, what the? Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes,
I am.
You guys have a good day, good weekend?
Yep. Had a good weekend.
It was okay.
Passable. Mine was pretty good. Got a lot accomplished. I'm going to get even more accomplished tonight when we find out that Santa Claus sometimes punishes the naughty when we talk about 1984 Silent Night, Deadly Night. But first, we're going to jump right into this week's horror news. Alrighty, let's start with this. Melissa Barrera, who plays the lead in Scream 6, has said that the new movie is 100 times gorier and more action-heavy than the last movie. It says with the last Scream, they were tiptoeing and trying to be very respectful of what the franchise has been up until that point and keeping their inner gory dreams at bay. But with this one, they were like, we're going all out. It's potentially 100 times gorier. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
100 times gorier?
I think that's an exaggeration, but it's probably significantly gorier.
Wow.
It's a hard reference for me because I haven't seen the last one. So I don't have a frame of reference.
The last one was about as gory as the first, maybe a little less around that. So, I mean, are you afraid that they talk about going in a gorier direction?
No.
Or do you think that's still fine?
No, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. The last one I thought was pretty good. Of course, we all know the elephant in the room, our disappointment of them not bringing back Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. But, I'm excited to see what they're going to bring up next. Guys, this is big news. Mike Flanagan and Trevor Macy are planning an epic Stephen King adaptation. They are adapting the Dark Tower series.
Ooh.
They going to cast Matthew McConaughey?
No, probably not. But predating their deal with Amazon, they required the rights to the Dark Tower, which, if you know anything about me, you know that it's been my holy grail project most of my life. And it's a TV series that he wrote the pilot that he views as going at least 5 seasons.
So this predates the deal that they had with Amazon.
Yeah.
This was in the works prior to.
Yes. Well, he has the rights prior to Amazon. So it's probably going to be an Amazon series at this point because of the deal.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Are you guys up for a Mike Flanagan Dark Tower series?
Definitely.
I'm going to say yes, though I have not read the books.
Yes. The books are great. I've read all of them. I have them. It's a great... I didn't know what to expect when I first read The Gunslinger. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And immediately I was hooked. It was like, it's Stephen King's Hobbit. It's Stephen King's version of Lord of the Rings. It's his big epic, except set in the West with Western characters and Western ideologies. It's a really great story. Roland Deschain and company. I'm excited to see it. The film adaptation, I did not care for. It wasn't the worst thing, but it was nothing like the books. So I'm optimistic about this. And then finally, Lydia, this is for you, and you to a lesser degree, Derek, but we have a rating for M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin Door, and it is going to be his first R-rated film since The Happening. So, that should be interesting. He's usually PG-13, almost everything.
Yeah, and this is the one with Dave Bautista, right?
This is the one with Dave Bautista where...
The trailer looked interesting.
Yes, the trailer looks really cool. The plot synopsis is good. I'm cautiously optimistic about this one as well. I know you guys are the Shyamalan heads, and I just dabble in Shyamalan. Basically, I dabble in the first two pictures.
I mean, he makes some great movies. I liked The Happening. I thought it was happening.
The Happening was definitely not happening at all. And neither
Tread
are you.
lightly.
Neither are you.
Rude.
He just immediately got the flashbacks of the girl.
Triggered.
She said I wasn't happening. And that wraps up the horror news for this week. So not a lot going on, but it is around Christmas time. When this episode airs, it'll be a week before Christmas. The bells are jingling and the choirs are singing, and we're getting into the Yuletide mood. So what better way to bring in the Christmas spirit than to discuss a trashy 80s slasher movie about a killer Santa Claus, right?
That's how we roll up in this bee.
All right, guys. So Lydia, let's start with you, just because I want to. This is your first time seeing this, yeah?
Yes.
Did you know about it prior?
Yeah, I've heard about it for years. I see references to it a lot when it comes to Christmas horror movies. So I just never got around to watching it. And I can't believe that I never did.
I know, right?
Now.
Right, I know. Derek, what's your experience with this one? Is this your first watch?
Yep, it is definitely my first watch. And I don't recall ever hearing about this
Oh, really?
movie. Maybe in a video store I saw like
You
the
definitely,
cover
yeah, you definitely saw the cover, I would
at
imagine.
like Video West.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This one slipped past the radar.
Yeah, it's got a very iconic cover, actually, I think. The artwork is pretty dang iconic. With Santa coming out of the chimney holding the axe.
Yeah.
Just the axe coming out. Yeah.
I do remember the cover art.
Yeah, it's very iconic. And guys, I've seen this movie once. I rented it on VHS in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was when I was going through my original first horror run through of things. So I was renting every horror that I could possibly get my hands on. And this was at the video store. And this one and its sequel is something else. And we will get to that eventually. It is another beast. But rewatching this, like, it was almost like a first watch. There's specific scenes I remembered. I remembered the antler scene. I remembered the sled scene. But what I didn't remember is the setup to all of these things. And I remembered the ending. So it was almost like a first watch as I'm going through this thing again. And guys, when this movie came out, it was super controversial.
Oh, I hope you've got some information on this because I'm super intrigued.
Super controversial. So this movie, it was originally, original production was called Sleigh Ride, which is actually a pretty funny title too, right? And it was based off a short story called He Sees You When You're Sleeping. So originally this was being shopped around to be like a bigger movie. Like it was, Sam Raimi was considered to direct this thing at one point.
Wow.
Of course, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But basically what happened is the controversy of this. If you guys remember the 80s, we were going through a very conservative movement here in the United States, especially when it came to censorship and video violence. In England, they had the video nasties. Here in the States, the MPAA was just cracking down on our favorite subgenre of slasher movies. And slasher movies were the biggest successes, right? Well, this movie got such a huge controversy, especially in the Bible Belt, where they were like talking about how it's corrupting our kids because it's depicting Santa Claus as a serial killer and how it would traumatize children. There were People magazine articles written about it. And then it was chopped to bits by the ratings board.
I'm just going to say, like, did God commit genocide against an entire group of people?
Twice, yeah.
Twice. So, but watch out for that Santa Claus with an axe.
Yeah, so basically it was the subject matter of it's going to scare children and you're taking a beloved. Some were using it like religiously, and people had to remind them, hey, Santa Claus isn't a religious figure, guys. You know that, right?
Right.
He's made up. But according to this article and Wikipedia, large crowds, mostly angry families, formed at theaters and malls around the nation to protest the film. The film's East Coast premiere in the Bronx, protesters picketed the theater and sang Christmas carols in protest.
Oh my God.
So in response, TriStar Pictures pulled all ads of the film 6 days after its release. And the film was pulled out of the theaters shortly thereafter due to the controversy. So then that's how they handled that. Now they would run off of that controversy and people would go flock to see it because of the controversy.
100%. Yeah.
But so after all of that big hoopla, let's get into it. Is this movie really that bad that it should have been pulled from theaters and protested against?
I mean, that's a really hard question to ask, only because of like modern movies. Like this is not anything out of the realm of normal.
Right. Well, I'm saying let's get into it and dive in and see if that's the case, especially if we compare it to its contemporaries. Because think about this. This is 1984.
Yeah.
The same year, Friday the 13th Part 4 came out. So let's see if it's any worse. Is it a worse movie than Friday the 13th 4? Spoiler alert. Yeah. Of course. But where do you guys want to start with this one? There's a lot to talk about here.
I think this one, I feel like you start at the beginning. Because I got some thoughts.
What do you guys think about this opening prologue? Because it's fucking wild, isn't it?
It is so crazy. My God, that grandpa.
Yeah, so let's start there. Lydia,
Yeah.
What do you think of this grandpa scene?
I was like, I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's really creepy, honestly.
Yeah,
it's
really
super creepy. Just it kind of definitely sets a tone of like this movie is going to be disturbing.
Yeah, and weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And that little boy is so cute.
Yeah, yeah. The little boy that got to play him is very cute. And it's just so funny the way that Grandpa's not saying a word. As soon as they leave, he's like, ha ha, Santa Claus will kill you.
No. I was trying to determine if this was just like a figment of his imagination, because the way that it's set up, like this, he hasn't spoken a word in years. Right? And then he just randomly like decides, oh, okay, we're alone with the little kid. I'm gonna like just
well, yeah, I
scare
think
the shit out of him.
I think he's just disturbed, is what it is.
That too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. He's disturbed, so he's like, I'm gonna scare the shit out of this little kid. It's gonna be fun.
Which is his grandson.
I know.
But he's in a mental institution, so like, you know, what do
Yeah.
you really expect? There's absolutely no way I would have left my
No,
child alone with somebody in a mental institution.
no, absolutely not.
But that's all right. They get their
Yeah. So,
they get theirs in a little bit.
what do you guys think of the scene, the initial attack of Santa Claus? Like this Santa Claus that attacks him. This is like wild.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we're introduced to the Santa Claus robbing, holding up a store, and then just murders the dude. And so at that first scene, when he kills the guy at the robbery, he does it almost in self-defense because the guy pulls the gun. So you're like, oh well, he might just be a burglar on the run. No. He had his car broke down, and he literally all he had to do was get in the car with the family, and they would have driven him to wherever he wanted to go because
Yeah.
he's just a Santa Claus. But he's just a psychopath. So, what were you guys' thoughts on this? When he, first of all, he just murders the dad, shoots him,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then sexually assaults the mom, while little Ricky runs and hides in the bushes. What are you guys thinking at this point?
It's so dark. It's like so dark. Straight out the gate.
It is
Yeah.
very dark, yeah. And I mean, the level of trauma that little kid just experienced in his life is like unparalleled, really.
Well, yeah.
You know, and then a little bit of a deeper perspective on this. So this is definitely a case of nature versus nurture. Like this, what happens later on that is created by all
Yes.
the events that happen.
Yeah. Like this trauma is the touchstone, is a starting point.
Yep.
But it's totally nuts because also the Santa Claus never gets any comeuppance.
You're right.
Mhm.
He just vanishes from the scene after like yelling at Ricky, saying that he's asking if he's been naughty and holding the knife, and then we just cut to later when both he and his little brother are in an orphanage. And we're introduced to Mother Superior. What do you guys think of Mother Superior?
Mm,
The scariest.
Yeah, right?
yeah.
She's that thing you like to say sometimes, Derek?
A BITC.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, she's terrible.
Or
Like
BIT.
she's just she's very sadistic.
Oh, for sure. So I've never been in an orphanage, so I really can't, I don't have any perspective on this, but like some of the stories that you hear coming out of some of these places, right? And just from the news, it wouldn't shock me if like that stuff actually happened. And that is scary in and of itself, but she's definitely not fit to run an orphanage full of kids.
Yeah, well, what's really interesting is this middle part here. So little Billy's grown up.
Yeah, he's
and
a little older.
Yep, he's a little older before he's an adult, but he's a little older. He's in the orphanage still, and we spend just time with him in this orphanage. And there's not any killings or any of that kind of horror. It's more just psychological torture of Billy, basically showing us why Billy becomes who he becomes.
And the part that drove me nuts about this portion of the movie was, so there's another nun.
Yes.
And she has compassion. Like she is what you would think of somebody who should take care of kids, right?
Sister Margaret, correct.
Yeah, Sister Margaret. And so like, Billy gets in trouble, and then Sister Margaret goes and visits him, and she was like, why don't you come out and play? Which he was told not to do. He was told to go to his room and stay there.
Right.
And then just randomly on his way, he...
Dude, this scene cracked me up. He just hears some noises, and he's like, wonder what that is. Let me peek through the keyhole. And then there's like a whole sex scene. These teenagers, apparently at the orphanage, just boning.
Well, duh.
So Mother Superior catches him, yells at him. He goes downstairs, runs, and she like beats them with the belt or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, yeah, Mother Superior comes down and has a, it seems like it's going to be okay, like a nice talk. Like she's like, what did you see? Well, whatever you did, it was, didn't behave. And then she's like, they were being naughty. And when you're naughty, you've got to be punished. Punishment is everything. And then she's like, why did you leave your room? You were supposed to stay in your room. And then instead of just being like, go on, she's like, that was very naughty. And then just beats him with the belt.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I believe the other nun like speaks up.
Yeah.
And says like, hey, I said
it was my fault. Yeah. I let him out.
And that's the right thing to do. She tried to take ownership, but it was that lady just wanted to like beat on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then she beat this kid. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah. So then we jump a little bit in time to around Christmas, and she's like, you'll see my methods work. They may be harsh, but my methods work. They're very good.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have William, as she calls Billy, we're going to have William sit on Santa Claus's lap, even though she knows the trauma he feels about Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Because of his grandfather and him watching his parents murdered by Santa Claus. And the thought in his mind is that Santa Claus punishes. He doesn't bring presents. He punishes.
Mm-hmm.
So she sits him on his lap, and Billy reacts the only way one would and knocks Santa Claus out, punches him out. Knocks him right out. And then, of course, he is tied to the bed and shit, just basically tortured through his whole upbringing. And then we do like a time jump to modern day, and Billy is like this strapping, tall, man, basically 18 years old,
Mm-hmm.
just turned 18. And Mother Margaret or Sister Margaret gives him a job at a toy store, basically.
Yeah, is it a toy store or just like a general store?
I think it's a toy store because there's
a toy store.
Yeah, there's a lot of toys. Yeah.
It's like decked out. I just saw a picture of it as I was looking through some of these.
Yeah, it's
called
definitely
something toy store. Like
yeah, it's definitely a toy store.
I love seeing some of the toys in there too.
Yeah, I did too, man. Isn't that fun?
There were like some like Star Wars toys.
Yeah,
and, like some cool stuff.
Right, because I mean, it was shot in '83, so those were like Return of the Jedi toys and shit. Some
HiLa toys.
Yep,
that's what the store was called.
This is a little off script.
HiLa's toys.
HiLa's, yeah.
This is a little off, but Jamie, this is more for you because Lydia, you're like a puppy, like a young person. We're old. Do you remember the Castle Grayskull?
Yeah, the
toy?
set.
I loved that thing, man. It was so amazing. We had one.
Yeah, I had. I didn't have the Castle Grayskull, but somebody I knew had one. I had the Batman, the Wayne Manor that folded out.
Nice.
And that was badass because it folded out. One side was the Batcave, the other side was like an industrial park. Pretty cool. But so this next section fucking cracks me up, guys. When we get this sickly sweet, upbeat song montage where he's like working at this toy store.
Gosh. So silly. Like, what is up with that? It's like a sitcom.
It is a sitcom, yeah.
Like intro.
It is. And he's like lifting a little girl up to get something, and the shop owner goes,
yeah. Yeah, it's literally a sitcom intro. It's so weird. It's so out of place.
It is. It's mixed in with him seeing pictures of Santa and going like,
yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, it was like really ridiculous, but I enjoyed it.
Oh, entirely. I loved it. I loved how incredibly dumb it was. Like how
it's just like
stupid and silly.
Like, this is in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, we just saw like the darkest intro
Yeah.
And now we're getting this song.
Well, we have to get into some fun is what has to happen.
Yeah.
Because the back half of the movie is just fun.
Yeah.
So it's like they switch our mood with this and show us this great thing. And then we go from there to, they end it with them rolling up the big Santa Claus thing and setting it up. So then this next section, guys, we basically find out that he has a crush on one of the girls. The girl that works there. He has a big crush on her. And Pamela, that's her name, Pamela. So he has a crush on Pamela, and they kind of flirt a little bit. And Billy is made to be Santa Claus because the original Santa Claus is out. So he's like, well, I'll throw it on to Billy. But before that, the other guy that works back there for him, what's his name? Dickhead, basically. His name is Andy.
Yeah.
Sees old Andy. Like, Andy's back there saying, like, you know what? When you first got here, you were all right. But now you're just being a prick, basically. You're showing up late. Listen, Sims isn't anybody's friend. If it wasn't for me, you'd be fired. You're lucky old Sims isn't here. Then Sims walks in. He's like, oh, hi, Mr. Sims. Totally kisses his ass.
Yeah.
So Billy, of course, is forced to be Santa Claus. And
this is it.
It doesn't go well.
Well, I mean, this is the catalyst. Like, it's kind of like
it's the start of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this mentally literally broke him.
Yeah. Well, it starts to break him pretty quickly. Yeah. Because I would argue that
interaction with the kid.
Yeah. I would argue even after the kids, he's still Billy. He's still fine.
Yeah.
He's just doesn't like it. I mean, when the little girl's like, he basically tells her that he's going to punish her. What's the interaction exactly, Derek?
Yeah, he's like trying to get her to sit still and he's like, I will punish you. He's like under his breath.
Yeah.
And the moms are all like,
he's so great with kids.
So great.
Yeah.
So they have a Christmas party. And he starts to drink. They all start to drink. First of all, this is hilarious. This Christmas party is literally this. They lock the doors after the store closes. And then they pull out booze. They're like, oh, let's party. And they just sit at the store getting drunk. And Billy, by the way, is 18.
If I worked retail, I'd probably do that too.
I wanted to when I worked retail back in the day. But so that's silly. But then Pamela goes in the back with Andy. And he starts basically sexually assaulting her. Not basically, he does sexually assault her.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part that doesn't make any sense. He saves her.
Yeah. So he goes in and sees it, snaps, and kills him. Like, doesn't he hang him with the Christmas lights?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Hangs him with the Christmas lights, and then he snaps, basically, and she snaps at him, starts telling him that he's crazy, that he killed him, get away, you're crazy. It's like, dude, you were being legit, like, sexually assaulted. He was going to rape you.
He was raping her.
Yeah. And so she flips out on Billy. So then he says, thinks that she's bad and says, punish. And grabs a box cutter and slits her from chest to stomach. What do you guys think of these two first kills that we get?
Go ahead, Lydia. I've been talking a lot.
Oh, you're fine. I'm like trying to find the scene. I'm like, I don't know why I'm just obsessed with looking at these pictures. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm just trying to find the picture of him like actually killing the guy. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, he hangs him up with the Christmas.
Yeah, hangs him with the Christmas lights.
It's great. That's really disturbing.
Yeah, I feel like death. Go ahead, Lydia.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say so.
Lydia, you go.
I'm done.
I forget what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So the first one, although he does take it a step further, maybe he shouldn't have killed the guy, but like, kind of justified.
Well, yeah.
right? He was gonna rape this lady, which he had
He
a
should have
crush on.
intervened, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like just the reaction from her, you know, even though she probably didn't deserve to die.
No.
I don't know, but yeah, the first one was definitely justified, and the second one it was just him.
Yeah,
He'd
they were
had
fun
enough.
kills. I think both of them are
Oh,
fun
for
kills.
sure.
They're fun kills. So then Mr. Sims comes in because he's like, "Did you hear that?" He's sloshed. So he walks to the back, and old Sims gets killed as well. He gets like, doesn't he get his head smashed with a hammer?
Yeah,
What it
I
is?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a fun death too. Then we get the other woman, the assistant manager. What's her name? And Mrs. Randall. Yeah, Miss Helen Randall. So they have a fun little chase scene in this toy store,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. I liked this scene. He ends up killing her with shooting a bow and arrow into her back.
Mm-hmm.
As she's on her way. She's the only one that did. Well, Sims didn't really do anything to him either, but she didn't do anything. I don't think she was. I don't know why she was naughty, except for she was drinking, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But he just kills her because she's there and saw it, I guess. So then he goes on his spree, and this is where we get the fun stuff. So what do you guys think about this next set of kills?
This is the antlers, right?
Yeah, this is the antler. So we see Liana Quigley as Denise and her boyfriend Tommy, and they're up there. They're down in the basement, basically, about to do it.
This is her second appearance on the podcast.
It is Liana Quigley. She was also in Night of the Demons.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes, she is the one that sticks the lipstick through her boob in Night of the Demons. Yeah, that's her. I think this scene is a lot of fun. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We get some cat and mouse games. First of all, I love that she takes off her shirt, she hears the bell, she goes upstairs to let the cat out, or to let the cat in, without just topless.
Yeah. When the carolers were like just out there.
Yeah.
She just answers the door with no shirt on.
Just topless. She's like, "Come here, blah, 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 blah. Hello." Well, you're not coming in now. The cat comes in. Then Billy comes in and he breaks down the door. And old boy's downstairs apparently just not hearing any of this.
They had the radio on, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you'd hear blood-curdling screams and the door being smashed upstairs.
For sure.
That's neither here nor there. So he chases her around. They have like a little fight scene. And then she has, I think, the best death in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he picks her up.
Oh, yeah.
And impales her on the antlers, topless. What do you guys think of this scene?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. She's just hanging around.
Yeah, just hanging around. So then old boy hears her downstairs. Sees like this. The door broken down, things knocked over, and has a fight with Billy. How does he die? I don't remember.
He gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Thrown out the window. That's what it is. Yeah.
Giant glass shards sticking out of them.
Yeah, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good effect. Yeah, it's cool.
So also it kind of like at least this was my perspective, like in his rage he has like superhuman strength. Is what it seemed.
Yeah.
Well, because like in his first kill, the guy who was assaulting the other lady, he like picked him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a super strong.
Yeah, but he's also supposed to be super strong, remember? Because they make that a point. They build that up. That's why he's good at stalking and everything, because he's so big and strong.
Yeah.
So
he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big, strong dude. So yeah, that guy, he has a good fight with him. That dude puts up a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
And then Billy ends up just throwing him out of the window, and he gets impaled by that big piece of glass. And then guys, the sister comes out and sees Santa. Yeah. And he has an interaction with her. What do you guys think of this?
It's hilarious.
He
I thought
gives
it was
her
hilarious.
The knife.
Yeah.
Have you been good?
Or have you been naughty?
Are you sure?
He has it behind his.
Here.
He pulls it out, and you think he's gonna stab her, and then he just presents it to her, and she's just like, "What the fuck, Santa Claus?
Santa?
I didn't ask for this. I asked for My Little Pony."
Yeah.
And so you hear her ask, Denise, Tommy. She's walking around, and as he exits, that's my favorite chunk of the movie is that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So meanwhile, while all this is going on, well, there's one more kill actually that happened before, which is there's these two guys that are like 20, and they're going sledding
at night in the woods.
In the woods. And
what's the worst that could happen?
These other adults come and bully them. So it's like adults bullying adults. I mean, I think they're supposed to be teens, but they're clearly like 20, 25. The one guy looks like he was 47, the main bully. Like, I think he had like a full beard, pension, 401k. So these bullies come and like run off these guys, and they're like, yeah. And like just bully him out. They run off just so they could take their sleds and sled.
Mm-hmm.
Like these guys are fucking giant losers.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you thinking? So we get this great bit where my favorite part, first of all, is that how much they're cheering each other on in the sledding.
Right.
So the first dude goes down and he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's at the bottom. He's like, come on. Yeah. Yeah. So old boy sleds down and he gets decapitated. What do you guys think of this kill? And then the other guy gets murdered as well. What do you guys think of this set of kills?
I love it.
In this whole scene.
This is definitely one that I've seen referenced.
Mm-hmm.
Like on other places and like countdowns and things like that of like this guy getting beheaded by Santa.
It's actually great. It is a great setup and it's a great payoff.
Yeah.
Because
fun.
It's cool that we see him jump out and then we just see the headless body ride down.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's extra fun because we don't care about those characters at all.
We're purposely made to hate them immediately.
Yeah. So you're like,
sure.
yeah, Santa's gonna kill him.
Yeah, go get him, Billy.
Yeah,
you're rooting for Billy at this point. Yeah, go get him.
Which is, it's
that's
crazy.
Kind of that's what you do.
But you understand because you've been on this journey with him, and he's been completely messed up by everyone around him.
Yep, and you understand where he's coming from, and plus, you always do root for the killer in these movies if they do it right.
Yeah, that's what this movie did it right. Like, I'm impressed.
So
I didn't expect that,
Yeah, absolutely. So simultaneously, this is going on. Sister Margaret comes to visit Billy. She calls, and she goes to the toy store and sees that like there's a bunch of dead bodies. So she realizes that he's flipped out. So her and a detective are trying to track Billy down while this is going on. And the detective's like, it's not good. There are 2 other murders. And he's like, I just don't know what we could do. Maybe if we just knew how his mind worked and knew where he'd go next. It's like, I don't know why it took you guys getting together for hours to come up with, he's probably going to that fucking miserable orphanage.
Well, yeah.
Tormented him for his whole life.
If I were going on a killing spree, Mother Superior would definitely be at the
number 1 with a bullet. Yeah. And so
she should hit me with a belt.
What's really funny is, so we have these really interesting scenes of Mother Superior like trying to keep the children occupied, and they're singing like "Row, row, row your boat," or they're singing not "Row, row, row your boat," Christmas carols. So they're all singing these Christmas carols together to try to keep them like their mind off of it, keep them occupied, and that we see that's he's like, don't let anybody out. We have a police officer arrive at the scene, and then guys. So once they find out that it's going to be the orphanage, we get this Santa Claus arriving to the scene. because he's supposed to play Santa. Ricky, Billy's little brother, is super excited to see Santa. He's walking up to him, and Santa Claus gets gunned down by this police officer in the back. Just gunned down horribly. First of all, there's kids right there. You could hit one of those kids, man. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
No one would do that. No one would fire into that crowd like that
God.
of children.
I'd do it.
Well, that's why you're not a cop. Or allowed to be near firearms. Or children, for that matter.
He's lying. So when we get done with this, I got something.
So it's so funny that because he's just like gets gunned down and Ricky's just like what the fuck? Blood splatters on him. So they bring the children inside, and that's when they're like, let's sing Christmas carols. You start. Because they're opening presents like nothing happened, like they just didn't see Santa Claus murdered in front of their eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we come to find out that it was a priest.
Yeah.
That was Santa Claus every year, and he's deaf.
Oh my gosh. I forgot
What do you
part.
guys think of this part?
Yeah, it's special. Just the thought of like that, not only that officer like shot into a crowd of like towards a crowd of kids, but that those kids just watched Santa get murdered would be like so traumatizing.
Yeah.
And then like just watch a couple other murders go down.
Yeah. And then that happens. I mean, they see Santa Claus murdered. And then if later they find out that was a priest that presumably they know.
Yeah.
Murdered.
Well, and I love I'm pretty sure that the cop that gunned them down was like, these things happen.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, because he's talking with Mother Superior.
Yeah.
He calls her sister, and she's like, I am Mother Superior. And this is your fault. Because you did this. You shot that man. Which this is the one time I agreed with her. I'm like, yeah. You fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he said something along those lines, Derek. Sometimes these things happen. I hollered for him to stop. He's deaf. And he just lowers his head. You guys stay here. I'm going to walk the perimeter. It's like, yeah, please do. So we can have Billy kill your incompetent ass.
Yeah. It's like, so you might accidentally shoot someone else.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So this is the second false ID of Santa. Because they false ID'd somebody going through a window.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure he was going through his daughter's window. So it turns out it was the dad.
Yeah.
Right. And he was sneaking into the house. And he was playing Santa.
It's going to be Santa. Yeah.
But like, why would the only question I had was, why would you go through the daughter's window? Why not like?
I guess, but they probably didn't have a chimney or something.
Yeah.
And so because he wanted her to wake up and see him, so that way she would stay asleep, and that way she'd believe in Santa. Is what my thought process is.
Yeah, it's really twisted. Like
create like a
when you think
memory.
about it.
Yeah,
it's pretty twisted. Like he should have just walked in the bedroom door.
Yeah,
and been like, oh, I just came through the,
or
chimney,
walk through the bedroom door and been like, just check and see if you're asleep.
There's such weird things around kids and Santa.
Yeah,
but well, I didn't have a fireplace growing up,
We didn't either. Yeah.
So it was like, well, how does he get? Oh, well, he finds a way.
Yeah, that's all I was ever
told. You didn't
told.
have to go through all the trouble of getting a giant ladder out.
And then when you have
and climbing up the house.
Yeah, and then when the Santa Claus movie came out, if you were young enough to be a kid then you're like,
yes.
He creates his own fireplace.
That was my favorite thing.
He just,
like,
if he doesn't have a fireplace, he just magically makes it appear.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Love it.
So, yeah, that scene's hilarious because she's like, Dad?
Yeah, she knew immediately.
Yeah, and they got the guns. She's like, don't, Dad. So yeah, that you're right. That is a second. This death scene of the police officer is pretty good. Not necessarily for the death itself, But for the cat and mouse that plays here,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good suspenseful scene. When he's walking around the shed and he thinks he sees something, and then he goes clear down into the thing and comes. We get like a long, like little, build up before Billy axes him right in the chest. And Officer Dumbass is out of our lives forever.
As he should be.
And then we get the finale. What do you guys think of this finale?
I'm trying to remember the finale.
So Billy comes to the door and he knocks on it.
Oh,
and the little kid lets him in.
And why wouldn't they?
It's Santa Claus.
Yeah, well, not only that, but like he knows that, like at this point, I don't think that the children at the orphanage have been told like who's doing what and all this.
They haven't told that there's a killer Santa. No.
Well, not only that, but like that it was Billy, and so like Billy's just coming home. That kid's like, yeah, I'll let you in.
Yeah, they don't even. At that point, they didn't even. The little kid didn't even know it was Billy. They're like,
I thought he said Billy.
Maybe he does, but it's like either
Billy
way.
Doesn't have a beard on or anything.
Yeah, he has it down here. It's on. It's just hanging down.
Mm.
But it's like, oh look, it's Santa Claus. Of course, I'm going to let him in. And you're right. It is Billy. Why wouldn't you let him home? So he comes in, and he's going to flat out murder Mother Superior, and we're kind of here for it, right?
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this.
Yeah, we're kind of for it. We're here for it. And then, but we don't really want him to murder her in front of all these children at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, they've already seen somebody die. What's one more?
Yeah, that's a pretty rough one, seeing a nun axed in the head. It's a little intense. So the police officer and Sister Margaret arrive just in time and gun Billy down, shoot him in the back. He died. He rolls over. She goes over and sees him, and he like gets clarity right before he dies and sees it's her and her compassion towards it. Like he knows that she's not naughty.
Yeah.
She's been, good to him this whole time. And so then Billy just dies.
He says something before he does.
Yeah, I don't remember what he said. Maybe naughty again? I don't know. That's what I think those are the only word he says.
Maybe.
He says, "You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone."
Yeah.
So what he says, he looks at the kids and tells them, "You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone." And then he dies. And then Ricky looks down and sees his dead brother and looks up at the police officer and says, "Naughty."
Yes.
And we end. What do you guys think of this finale?
I love it. I thought it was a blast. Like, that's just, how fun is that? Like,
Yeah.
That kid. Naughty.
Yeah.
Naughty.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, bam, they set up the sequel.
Yep.
Just whatever seriousness of like these deaths might have had is just like
wiped
all
away.
taken away.
Yeah.
So it's just fun.
Yeah. Well, the back half of this movie erases the seriousness of the first half.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it just becomes silly fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so then that sets up a sequel that we get much later, quite a few years later, which is Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which is essentially, we'll watch it next year. But until we do, I will tell you about 45% of the movie is this movie. So clips of this movie from flashbacks. It's great.
Really?
Oh God, you guys are going to love it.
Is it called Silent Night, Deadly Night, Ricky's Revenge?
No, it's just called Part 2.
Oh.
And
This opportunity.
You guys, I can't wait for you guys to see this. This is going to be so funny.
We got to wait an entire year.
And well, I mean, we could always just do it.
There's like 40 of these. We could just squeeze one more in there.
Yeah, we could squeeze it in whenever we want, but it's really funny.
Easter.
You can watch it just to watch it, and then we could talk about it next year.
Yeah, that's true too, I guess. We can figure it out. Because we might do it sooner. You guys might be like, you know what, let's do it sooner. But let's talk about this one now. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Lydia, what do you think?
I love it. Like I said, I think it's a blast. Like, this movie was just fun. It's like pretty scary. Like, I'd say it's like decently scary. I remember when I was young, I was like really afraid to watch a scary Christmas movie. Like I thought it was going to ruin Christmas for me.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in this case, like Christmas was ruined for him, like horribly. And I definitely did not want that to happen. So, but yeah, I think it's really fun. I'm actually really glad that we watched this one this year because this might be a new classic,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. It's a fun little time.
I don't know what to rate it though,
No. Oh, well, it's because here's the thing. It's not a good movie.
Right.
It's just fun.
It's entertaining though. It's like the entertainment value is high.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think quality. a 6 range isn't bad. Somewhere around there.
That's about where I'm going to put it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it a 7 so I can one up all of you.
Oh,
I've got the perfect rating, so don't worry about it.
Oh, great.
What are your thoughts on this one, Derek?
So it's interesting. It's an interesting movie. And I definitely see where it could have caused some controversy for some people in the uptight tight ass club. Is that what?
Yeah.
Anyway, I could definitely see where it would cause some controversy. And it's a tragedy, really, because this kid watches his parents die, and then he is traumatized periodically throughout his life, and he didn't have a great life. So it's also sad, but then there's the fun aspect. All those deaths, they were great. I really enjoyed him picking her up and put her on the antlers, or the one scene with the little girl just cracked me up. It was great.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. So, and it's not a great movie. You're right, but it is entertaining. So I'm going to give this movie, and I probably should have saved it for a different movie, but that's okay. I'll do it for that one too. I'm going to give this a 6.67.
Oh, you rounded up.
I did round up. It's 2/3.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with this movie, guys. I think it's fun. It definitely is, in some aspects, better than it should be. In other aspects, it's worse than it should be. But I think it's competently shot. Even though there is some weird things. I don't know if it was on your guys' versions too, but there's some really just weird, rough scenes where the quality drops dramatically from scene to scene.
The sled scene, I think, is where that happened.
Yeah, I think what it is that's the stuff that's the uncut stuff that was put back in, but you can see it it's just it goes from shot to shot. The shot that's HD, perfectly in focus, and this grainy, horrible shot, then back to it. So I'm pretty sure it's because of we watched the unrated version, which is the only one available, I think, these days. But that was interesting. But I think it's all around a fun movie, and I'm going to give it a 6 as well, because Billy Chapman is a fun killer. You wait until you meet his brother Ricky Chapman. He's a even more interesting killer. Oh my God. But yeah, 6. I'd give it a 6 as well. I have a good time with it.
Yeah.
Fun. That's a good one to watch. Put in your Christmas horror rotation with Gremlins. So, guys, it's time for our favorite part of screenplay movies. We've got to Atkinize Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Thrill me.
Who is Tom Atkins going to play in this one?
I got my answer.
Go ahead.
He's going to say the sheriff.
Billy. He should play Billy.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great, because Billy's not a good actor.
No.
Yeah. That would make this movie probably a 10. If it's not Billy, it would be Mr. Sims, because he is the biggest other male role. Or he could play Tommy, because he's totally banging a chick, which is what Tommy Atkins does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would be fun to see him play the lead slasher in a slasher movie. That'd be cool. I'll go with that.
He could be the grandpa.
He could be the grandpa too nowadays. Yeah. Oh. Watch out for Santa. He'll kill you. And he's just like, what the fuck?
You know what? Maybe one day, whenever I'm a grandpa, and I'm gonna go catatonic for a year just to play a gag on my kids.
Right.
And then when I get alone with my grandson, I'm gonna like freak out. I got this.
You're gonna pull the old Dumb and Dumber 2 trick.
I am. Yeah, it's not gonna be like 23 years or anything like that. I might be able to last a couple months, but I'm gonna freak him out. That's for sure.
Santa will kill you.
Yeah. Are you on the naughty list?
Grandpa, I'm 35. Why? Kind of went catatonic a little too long.
Missed the mark.
Missed the mark on that one. Do you have any kids? So, guys, what are we doing next week? Lydia, it's your pick. What are we watching next week?
Let's do Krampus.
Krampus. All right. Now we're talking about the 2015 one, yes?
Yes.
Okay. The Adam Scott, Tony Collette.
Yes.
Mike Doherty directed.
I feel
Krampus.
like we need to go to the OG real punishing Christmas tale. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. This year's Christmas theme is punishment. What are you getting for Christmas? Nothing but good old punishment.
Oh my gosh. We didn't even talk about how he says punish when he's like killing people.
Punish.
Punish.
Punish. He's like reminding himself, you're doing this because of this. Punish.
It's like, what is he, a Pokemon? He can only say like the thing that he's like named after.
Yeah. Pikachu. Punish.
Punish. He like changes it up too.
Yeah.
We were laughing like the whole time every time he was saying that.
He says punish and naughty. Those are basically after he becomes evil Santa. Those are the only things he says. Punish and naughty. Naughty.
Man.
Oh, it's good stuff. What, Derek?
Nothing. I can't. I'll tell you off mic.
So, Krampus is available on Peacock currently. So you can check it out there. Be sure to watch that one so you're up to date for this next week's episode. Derek, do you have a story for us? A Christmas tinged one?
A Christmas one. Trying to think if there was anything that fun happened over. I can't think of a good Christmas one.
Just tell any then. Tell me a story about the box factory.
Oh, yeah. All right, let me think about this.
Tell the one that...
Oh,
okay.
Boy. Yeah, the J story. So, okay.
Yeah.
So one summer, I was home from college, and I went through like this temp service to get some jobs. And like the first assignment they had was this box factory that got bought out by a bigger company. And so they were going to clear out this facility and all of the stuff, all of the inventory. The other company was going to, consume that. But they also had a couple orders that they had to fill before this factory was shut down. And so Joey and I actually worked at this box factory together. And the guy's name, his name was, can I say his name? Does it matter?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the guy who was like in charge of closing everything down, his name was Chip Carroll, right? And so like he was this, a businessman. He'd been in the business for like ever, and it was good to like talk to him about the business and things like that. And so one day, we're like, he's like, "Oh man, I need a truck driver to fill this load, and I don't have anybody." And I was like, I know a guy. I know somebody who has a CDL. And he was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Yeah, it's my brother." That's the worst thing that you could do, is involve your brother in something like this, especially when your brother is
Jay.
Yeah, if your brother is Jay. So, so Jay comes, and he goes on a couple runs, and he does some deliveries, and I was having girl problems at the time, right? And so like Jay and I are kind of talking about this because he's my brother and I can share that information with him, right? So Chip comes up and just to start talking to me, and Jay is like, "Hey man, listen to this," and he like tells my stuff to Chip. Meanwhile, Chip, who is like, this businessman, and he's definitely in a different class than where we were, and so he's like nodding his head, kind of smiling, looking at me like, "Is this guy serious?" I don't want to say the stuff that Jay was telling him, but
it was
he was
sexual
like,
in nature.
it was. He was like, going like this. Yeah, okay. I don't remember what like came out of that. And as soon as we walked away, I was like, "Jay, you never talk to your boss like that." He's like, "Why? He's a man too." And I'm like, "Yeah, but he's also your boss. Like, there are certain things you don't discuss around him,
like your sex life
like
or
your
your
personal
brother's sex
life.
life.
Yeah." Maybe if like you've worked there for 10 years and you're friends with him, maybe you could share some details, but not some guy you just met.
No, definitely no.
What kind of it was ridiculous. Anyway, and there was another guy, and his name was Willie.
His name was not Willie, Derek.
It was Willie.
His name was Al. You just called him Willie.
Anyway, dude, this guy was like, he was white trash personified, and so he's like got no teeth, which, I mean, to be fair, my brother didn't have any teeth either, but that's okay. And so he's like, just that. And I'm not going to tell the joke, but man, he told the most inappropriate joke.
A racist joke.
It was a completely racist joke. And I'm just like so appalled by him after he gets done talking. I'm like, oh my God. I'm pretty sure I never talked to that guy again.
Well, yeah, then you named him Willie after that.
I'm pretty sure that's what his name was.
You're no longer out of me. You're Willie.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Derek. So, guys, that does it for this week's episode on Silent Night, Deadly Night. Be sure to tune in next week for Krampus, available on Peacock. You can follow us on social media. You can find us online at HiLaProductions.com, where you can get merch. You can find this podcast anywhere that major podcasts are streaming. You can find us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. You can find us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. And you can find us each on Twitter. You can find Lydia at Lydia Spooky. You can find Derek at D-Dog Lee Master. And you can find me at Racket. Be sure to comment down below on what your favorite Christmas horror movie is, and then maybe we'll do it next year. Tell us your favorite scary Christmas stories. And have you ever met a man that works in a box factory that is named Willie? If you have, share that, because we'd be very interested to know. If there's nothing else, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.